Hi guys, it's Sunday morning, so the children are still in bed. It's 7:30 now, and it's the perfect time to discuss about what I actually spend my time on developing Outer Space Shack. Nowadays, when you develop a game, you don't start from scratch. You use a game engine, so I use Unity. It's kind of the default choice. It's very good for what I need, and Unity offers a lot. Basically, it offers you full display, moving cameras, displaying 3D, displaying 2Ds, displaying user interface. And it's quite easy to play with Unity, to move models around, to move the camera. For some game types, Unity has most of what you need, like first-person shooters, platformers. You can build them very quickly, and there are a lot of tutorials. So I don't spend a lot of time actually interacting with Unity and managing my game display. What is hard about Outer Space Shack is that it's a strategy or city building game, and this has a lot of logic, like placing the buildings, managing how much electrical power the buildings use, how much power is produced, and this has to be built from scratch. This has to be built from scratch because Unity doesn't support it, and also because I want to control it. And a game like Outer Space Shack has more logic than what you would expect. And it's more complex to build this logic and also interaction. Let's say that you have three types of game objects, like you, NPC players and enemies. The complexity of the game will be 10, the complexity of the game logic. If you have 10 types of object or 15 types of object like Outer Space Shack, the complexity will be more like 200 or 250. So like maybe 15 times more complex than a first-person shooter. And to write the game, I probably need to write in the hundreds of thousands of lines of code. That's a lot. That's actually the number of inhabitants in a city. And I think the analogy with a city is very good. You can build a city like a complete mess. Imagine traffic jams, imagine no water sewage, imagine no electricity. And to build a good city, you need urbanism. You need to build large streets, you need to set up garbage collection, to set up a water system, and to have a big piece of code, you need exactly that. So I spend quite a lot of time reorganizing my code so that it can grow and it's easy to maintain. I would like to mention also that coding is not just writing the logic. Writing the logic is actually 20% of the time you spend coding. You spend probably a small half of it testing the code, making sure it works as you expect, and a big chunk of time also correcting the errors, not just at the beginning. I mean, you find errors in rare cases after a long time, and also reorganizing the code so that it's readable and it can grow. To wrap it up, I spend quite a lot of time coding. But a game is not only coding. A game is also a nice atmosphere, nice graphics, and this requires to create graphical assets. Well, first, that's 3D models. There are quite a lot of assets out there, but a lot of them are not free, so it could cost quite a lot reusing assets. And for the core objects of your game, you basically need to model them yourselves. So for me, that's the moon base, the rockets, the landers, the astronauts. All that is very specific to what I want to do in Outer Space Shack. Fortunately, there's a nice free graphical modeling tool called Blender. It's absolutely powerful. There are a lot of tutorials, but it's quite hard. There's a steep learning curve. I'm basically ashamed of what I developed 3 or 4 months ago. Still, it works okay. The 3D model is one thing, but you need to put textures and materials on the objects. And with a nice material, even a simple model can look very nice. I'm actually quite happy on how the moon soil is looking in Outer Space Shack. And that's basically playing with an existing texture. And those texture and materials typically you need to buy some of them. Now, another aspect is animation. Human animation is very complex, but the nice news is that you can find existing human animations, like the movement of the astronaut. You see the astronaut sitting, walking. I basically reuse it from a free site. What I cannot reuse is the animation of the specific outer space shack machinery, like the doors of the station airlock opening, or also the legs of the landers deploying when they land on the moon. So this has to be done myself. Now, after we've talked about 3D shapes and animation, there's some other things we will not detail now, like 2D assets, nice drawings, icons, music and sound. And that's actually something I didn't really start, so that will come in the next months. Okay, another good chunk of time spent on game is on marketing. And it looks like a dirty word, but it's actually necessary. If I build a nice game, I will probably spend thousands of hours building it, and I expect people to play. And it's not only money, it's also that if I create some, let's say, work of art, I really want people to use it, to enjoy it. And for marketing, let's be clear, paid ads don't work. A click is basically sold $1, and so it means I have to pay $1 for ads for one person clicking on my site or my Steam page or whatever. Of course, not all the people who click will buy the game. Just look at the number of sites you visit every day and the number of sites you buy something from. Let's say, and that's already very high, that 5% of the people who come to the site buy the game. It means I pay $20 for one person purchasing the game. And that's basically more than the money I get from selling one game if the game is, say, $25. So paid ads doesn't work. Marketing has to be done organically. That means showing my game to people on sites like Reddit, on Twitter, and expecting that some of them will like it and will, in the end, talk about it and buy the game. Now, that is a hard art to master. You can become very quickly annoying and pressing. People don't like it. So there's an art in doing it that right. And after 1 year doing it, I think I'm not very good at it yet. Also, it's easy to waste a lot of time. Like a common mistake is to show my game to other developers. Well, maybe that's useful, but in the end, people who will buy my game are not developers, they are players. And so I could spend a lot of time marketing to other game developers, getting some engagement, getting some discussions, but with very few people buying the game in the end. So I have to spend time talking to the right people, and I have to spend also a reasonable amount of time. One trap will be to spend 95% of my time marketing and talking about the game and 5% building it, and in the end there will be only a crap game. So kind of a third of the time spent on marketing seems about right to me. Okay, I hope you found this video useful. There will be another video where I will detail where I plan to spend money on in Outer Space Shack, especially if the Kickstarter campaign is useful. I would love to hear your comments, and see you next time.